Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on standard CSS practices. So remember, just a quick note, when we're talking about CSS, we are talking about the styling or making a website look good. So how we affect how it looks, colors, your layout, those sorts of things. Not actually putting elements on the page. When we're looking at actually putting elements on the page, we're focusing on our HTML. So this is specifically focusing on the styling of the CSS. So one of the main things that we can do when we're formatting readable CSS is to maintain a good style sheet structure. So a good style sheet structure starts with an HTML tag. So whatever tag you're referencing, if you were doing a rule for paragraphs, you would do P, curly brace, curly brace. I always like to add my second one right away so that I don't forget it. Then you put whatever attribute you're setting, so whatever you are changing. Say we want to set the margin, and then we do a colon. This is your colon. And we set it to a value. So if I want to set the margin to 0 auto, semicolon. So don't forget your semicolon. And that's the styling we always use. So we always have the HTML tag, the curly braces, the colon, and the semicolon. Those are required for the CSS to work properly. This way of laying it out, where we do the curly brace and then return, do our attributes inside on separate lines, and then do a curly brace at the end on a new line, is all about how we can make our CSS readable. So when we're looking at readable CSS, it would look like this. If we wanted to add more attributes, we could add them. We could add them right in here in line with this color. So if we want it, the text is white. If we want to set the background, colon, to black maybe, we would put all of our attributes in line, indented inside the body. Now that's gonna work whether or not you indent it, whether or not you put your curly brace on a new line. Your code will still work, but writing your code like this is a lot more readable and maintainable than if you squish it all together in one line. So this is what we want to be doing, and we want to make sure that we're avoiding kind of cramming it all into one place or just using inconsistent structure. Sorry, I'm writing white there. So that would technically work, but that's considered not a good style. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and look now at comments. So comments are a way of leaving yourself notes in the code. Okay. So leaving yourself and other people who might maintain your code. So these don't affect the website. They don't change anything in your CSS. They're literally just for you to do commentary or notes. So if you want to, if you have a section of code that's related to each other for your navigation menu or something, you could then put a comment that says something like nav menu, and then any other notes you wanted to put, and do a multi-line comment like that, and then have all of your nav menu items. And it would help you to lay out your page in a more readable way. Because remember, code is often not written once and left. It's often written to be maintained, so we want it to be readable. If you want to do a single line comment, so just you're commenting one single line, you're going to use 2 slashes. So // whatever you want to write. Doesn't have to include the word comment. Multi-line comments, you need to include a /* and a */. So a /* at the start of your multi-line comment, whatever your comments are, and then a */ to end it. And that's how we can write comments or leave notes in our code, which is a really good practice. Another really good practice that I kind of mentioned before is logically sectioning your code. So here you can see they've included comments, as we discussed previously, to kind of indicate what's going on, but they've also sectioned their code. So any of the main body stuff is going to go at the top, They put all their headings together. Then they put all their list stuff together. And then any other sections and things they have all together. So essentially, if code is very closely, or if tags are related, so like having lots of headings, or if things make logical sense to be grouped together, then we group them together in our CSS. So it's easy to go and see how they relate and make any changes we need to make. And it just kind of gives us that layout where we can kind of see what's related more easily. So we want to make logical sections when we're laying out a CSS page. The other thing we want to do is make sure that we're breaking larger style sheets into multiple smaller ones. So often we'll see a single style sheet, style.css or main.css. And sometimes that CSS is only applying to one page. So instead of doing this, what we might want to do is like a main.css, which contains things that apply to all pages. Could do a navigation if you have lots of tags for your navigation, because you can link these in. So even if every page links main.css and navigation.css, that's fine, because it makes it easier to find things in your CSS if it's laid out that way. Then if, say, you have a web store and you have an entire set of CSS just for products and laying things out, you might have a store.css that's specifically for how you're going to lay out the shop pages or the product pages. So we can break one big CSS file that you're scrolling through to try and find things into more logical sections. And every page can import multiple CSS files. So you might find that every single page is importing main.css. And most of your pages, if not all, are importing navigation. But then, 4 or 5 of your pages are importing store. And that's okay. We still want to break it apart into multiple sections so that it's a little bit easier to read and much easier to maintain.